Now, some of the ways of handling money and price objections. First type of money and price objection you receive is, we can't afford it right now, business is bad. Everybody says that. Even in the booms, people say that. The reason they say it in the booms is they got into the habit of saying it in the busts. And they said it so many times that as soon as the price comes up, they look up and they say, we can't afford it now, business is bad. They don't even know how bad or how good business is. You just simply realize that it's rarely true. When a person says that, it means that you haven't given them enough reasons to buy. The desire hasn't been aroused enough. Number two, short of cash. If a person says, well, we're short of cash, you say, what if? And this is a powerful expression to smoke out a real objection. What if we could offer you terms? What if? ... Very good question. What if we could give you terms? What if we could take yours as a trade so no cash need to change hands? What if we could do this? What if we could do that? If the person says, well, maybe, or yes, it means that they're interested, they're looking for a way to do it. And this is where your creativity takes place. When I got my car, my ideal car, silver gray 450 SEL Mercedes, when I first was offered the car, even though I'd wanted it hungrily for about 2 or 3 years, I said, no, there's no way I could afford it. I'm sorry, I'm not in the market. And they said, just a second. He said, what if we could take your car as trade so there's no cash? I said, I couldn't afford the rest of the price. They said, what if we could finance it all for you? I said, well, keep on talking. They took my car in trade. They financed the whole thing through one of their banks, spread the payments over 5 years, and my cost after taxes for that beautiful, beautiful automobile was $125 a month. In other words, there's always ways to do it. We have to be creative. And they just showed me how if you depreciate it, you deduct the interest and so on and so forth. There's all kinds of ways that you can afford to buy a very expensive item. Budget limitations. Person says, well, we don't have it in the budget, our budget is used up. You say, well, I'll tell you what, if you take it now, we won't bill you until your next budget period. How is that? If they're sincerely interested, if they really want it, they'll say, hey, well, that's not a bad idea. And you could take something else in trade or a minimal down payment or something else. Or offer them a cheaper product. Or try to get their budget expanded. If the price is above the customer's expectation, which it always is, say, well, that's more than we expected to pay. You say, well, yes, Mr. Prospect, but you know you always get what you pay for. Did you ever get anything cheap that was any good? You know that in a highly competitive market that we're selling this for the rock bottom lowest price that we possibly can. And if you want a good quality product that's going to last you and do the job for you, sometimes maybe you'll have to flex your budget somewhere else and get the money somewhere else. The customer thinks your product is too expensive. Be willing to show your customer that your product in comparison with what else is available in the market is very fairly priced. Don't assert it. There's an old rule which I cannot overemphasize. It says salesperson's assertions are not proof. They are just assertions. We know that we would never lie. Right? But nobody else knows that. They're accustomed to believing that perhaps we will put the very best light on our product and maybe even cross that invisible line, if you like, in order to sell it. So when we say, no, this is very fairly priced, it doesn't mean anything. But if we present a price comparison from a recent newspaper or magazine or price sheet from our major competitors, that is overwhelming evidence. That's why when we say, oh, you'll be very happy with this product, they say, oh yeah, I'm sure I would. And you say, here's a letter from one of our happy customers in your business who had the same concerns that you did. That carries weight because it's proof, if you like. Describe the price of your product, as we said earlier, by breaking it down to its lowest common denominator. Break it down to compare it with a package of cigarettes. Some people compare products to a case of beer a week or something like that. A bottle of wine a week, if you like. One dinner out per night or per month. A competitor price comparison. When a person says that your competitor sells it for cheaper than you. Anybody get that? We hear that all the time. It's amazing where our customers get so much information on the market out there if they're not in the market for the product. They know everything that's going on in the market. Everybody is selling it cheaper than we are. You say, yes, ours is more expensive than our competitors. Would you like to know why? And then go on and explain these are the reasons why. Routine objections on the basis of price. The person says, well, geez, I didn't really expect it would cost that much and so on. You say, well, Mr. Prospect, you're right. It is a little bit more than you thought, but there are very good reasons for it, and keep talking about the advantages and benefits and the things it would do. Normally you'd expect to pay this amount. If you bought it from X company, their lowest model costs this amount and so on. This is very fairly